let's continue our work with simple interest by doing a few problems on page 273. Now remember, we talked about in the previous video that our formula is principal times rate times time. Rate has to be with the percent sign, or you got to change it to a fraction or a decimal. Time must be in years, and we're going to always follow our steps every time we deal with a formula. If you will follow your steps with these formulas, I could give you any formula, even if you've never heard of it before, and probably get the answer correct. Okay, so let's go to our Kaplan book on page 273, and let's get started. So we're just going to skip around here because I want to show you a few different ones on this top section. These are pretty straightforward questions, but we've got to practice the easy ones before we can get to the more complex ones. All right, Leah borrows $1,500 for 2 years at 12% interest rate. Find the interest. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, right? So we're going to write our formula, I equals PRT. Remember your steps. Whoops, excuse me. We need to write the formula. We need to plug it in. We need to solve it. And we may have to use some algebra, okay? So I equals PRT. She borrows $1,500, so that's going to be my principal, $1,500. For 2 years, that's going to be my time. And really, it doesn't matter the order that you put your stuff here. I'm just going to put it right there. It's got to be in years. At 12%, because remember in multiplication, the order that you multiply things doesn't matter. Now, it matters in division and subtraction. Now, that's a forwards problem because we're just looking for I. That means we're just going to plug all that stuff in the calculator, easy schmeezy. Remember, I just like to, if it's all multiplication, I'm just going to hit the multiplication symbol on the calculator and not do the parentheses, but you certainly can use the parentheses. Remember, when you get to that percent, it's second, open parentheses, and then you're entering, and you get your answer, 360. Now, double check. Did they ask you for how much they pay back, or did they just ask you for how much interest? It says find the interest. Okay, so that's it. We're done. All right. Let's do number 2. How much interest, notice we're looking for interest, would you pay on a loan of $800 for 6 months at 14%? Okay, I hope you notice. How long are you borrowing the money? 6 months. What did we say in our notes? If the time is in months, what are we going to do? We're going to put it over 12, okay? So that way you don't have to worry about keeping up with any conversions. Just plop that over 12. So we're going to follow our steps. Write the formula, I equals PRT. We are looking for interest, so I stays in the formula. We have a amount that we're borrowing for $800. We borrow it for 6 months, so that's 6 over 12. And the rate is 14%. And so we keep that percent sign or put it as a fraction or change it to a decimal. If you don't know how to change that to a fraction or a decimal, let me show you how to do that, okay, on the calculator. Say you forget, because a lot of times we forget. We got to move the decimal this way or that way. So it's 14 second percent, okay? So I got it in there. And then if you just hit enter, look, it changed it to a decimal. Can you see that? All right. If you want that as a fraction, you can just say second F to D. See that table button? Okay, enter, and there's your fraction. So your calculator will change it for you, but it's just easier for me just to leave it all in there. All right, now let's go and put this in. So I got 800 times, now I want to put this as a fraction, 6 over 12. And of course, if you know that's half, you could put 0.5 is fine. And then 14%, second open parentheses, and whoops. Okay, my interest is $56. Now that's just how much they earned in interest, not how much they paid back. So we just want to double check that. All right, now let's go on and let's skip around a little bit. What if you have number 5? Okay, Todd invests $6,500 for 3.5 years at 5% interest. How much interest will he pay at the end of the time period? So how much will he pay at the end of the time period? We're just looking for interest though. So I've got my principal, my years, and my rate. That's easy, straightforward. So we're going to write our formula. Doesn't matter. We've written it before. We're going to still write our formula. So I equals PRT. We are looking for I. It stays in the formula. Principal was $6,500. That's how much the guy borrowed. And the time was 3.5. Notice I put it out of order. It doesn't really matter on the multiplication. And the 5%, I'm going to put the percent sign in there. Then I'm just going to take that to the calculator and work it out. Now remember how to do a mixed number. So I hit the 3 first, then I hit second N over D. So that changes it to the, can you see the mixed number format? 1 over 2, arrow over, so you're out of the denominator, times, my interest is 5. Got to put the percent or change it to a fraction or a decimal. And there you go. $1,137.50. You put the 0 back on there to get your 50 cents. So how much interest will he be paid? Will he be paid? Yep, at the end of the time period. Okay, so that's when you invest your money. You get that money goes back to you. Okay, which is nice. All right, number 6. And this will be our last video. Our last problem on this video. Talking about Ricardo. Ricardo borrows $1,850 for 8 months at 12% interest. What is the amount he will, look at those words, pay back? Pay back at the end of the loan period. And notice the time is given to you in months. Now what do we do when it's given to us in months? How do we put it in our formula? We put it as a fraction, 8 over 12. So this is one of those we have to watch for. We write our formula, I equals PRT. We are got to find I, but then we got to do something with it in a minute. He borrows $1,850. He borrows it for 8 months, which I'm putting over 12, and he has a 12% interest rate. Okay? So plug all that stuff in your calculator. 1,850 times 8 over 12 times 12 second open parentheses for the percent sign. Okay, now, so he has $148 that he has to pay in interest. But remember, the question is, how much will he pay back? So now we need to take the interest plus the principal to equal how much they will pay back at the end of their loan. So we got $148 plus your $1,850, and that gives us our answer. So 148 is already in my calculator, so I'm going to hit plus 1,850, and bam, 1998. So the guy doesn't just pay back $1,850, pays back $1998. All right, I hope this helps you and you're able to continue your problems.